3 videos in a week. Something must be in the air. What's going on? The thing that is in the air is 2021. We did it. We left the shadowy depths of 2020, and now we're here in a new, hopefully much better year. And with that, we have a slew of new movies coming in this year. A lot of them were slated to come out last year, but, you know, the pandemic and all, we are now getting like a ton of movies this year. 2021 is probably going to be like the golden corral of movies. Yeah, sure, there's going to be a lot of them, but what will be those sweet yeast rolls? What will be the chocolate fountain of movies? Because that's exactly what we're going to look at today. No, not yeast rolls or chocolate fountains. We are going to be looking at my most anticipated films of 2021. But before we get started, I would like to take some time to shout out some honorable mentions. Some of these films premiered in 2020 or even before that, but they are getting their theatrical release in 2021, so I thought I'd give them some love here. Those films would be Minari, directed by Lee Isaac Chung, as well as Nomadland, directed by Chloe Zhao. I have heard such good things about both of these movies, and I cannot wait to see them. It just felt weird to put them in this list, considering a lot of people had them as their favorite movies of last year. Another film on my honorable mentions list is The Beatles Get Back, directed by Peter Jackson, that will be premiering on Disney+. Now, this is a documentary that chronicles the recording sessions of the album Let It Be. Now, this documentary is going to feature tons of never-before-seen footage. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and this specific era of the Beatles catalog is ripe for tons of new storytelling and a lot of insight, not to mention the fact that Peter Jackson is directing this movie, and that's just kind of icing on the Beatles cake. Another film on my honorable mentions list is Mission Impossible 7. Now, although I am really looking forward to this movie and seeing what other crazy shit Tom Cruise has planned for us, I feel like I kind of know what I'm going to be getting with this film. And sure, if I do get that, then I'll probably really like this movie, because I've really liked the past 4 of them. However, do I have room for this movie on my most anticipated list of 2021? Probably not. And rounding out the last of my honorable mentions list is Spider-Man 3. Now, although I am very curious to see what this movie is, I don't know if I have a lot of faith in it, to be honest. And although, no, we haven't seen any marketing for this movie, a lot of the behind-the-scenes kind of secrets that we've been hearing, a lot of the leaks from this movie's set that we've been hearing, it has me excited, yeah, but I would say it also has me quite anxious. Is this movie gonna work? Who the hell knows? Is Sony going to overstep their bounds and make a really bloated mess of a movie that tries to recapture the magic of Into the Spider-Verse? Who the hell knows? Alright, so now that that's over, I would like to get into my most anticipated movies of 2021. Now, I would also like to add that this list isn't really in any sort of order. It's mostly just 10 movies I'm really looking forward to. I'll save the last spot for my most anticipated, but everything else, I'm excited for all of them. Alright, so kicking off my top 10 is In the Heights, directed by John M. Chu, who also was the man behind Crazy Rich Asians. This film is based off of the Tony-winning 2005 musical of the same name. Now, although I have not seen the original musical, and I actually haven't heard any of the music, I do know that the music for that musical was actually composed by Lin-Manuel Miranda of Hamilton fame. And seeing La La Land back in 2016 really just made me very hungry for a lot of those really old-fashioned MGM musicals back in like the 1930s or the 40s or even the 50s, and for better or worse, movies like The Greatest Showman, I think, actually made a lot of audiences hungry for the same thing. And hopefully with movies like In the Heights, we can see this genre make a real comeback. Next, we have The French Dispatch, which is the newest live-action film from writer-director Wes Anderson. This is his first live-action movie since The Grand Budapest Hotel, all the way back in 2014, my favorite of Wes Anderson's career, actually. And although, yeah, Isle of Dogs was a bit hit and miss for me, this movie seems like original recipe Wes Anderson. Not only is the cast pretty on par with what we've come to expect from a Wes Anderson movie, but we've actually have some new additions like Benicio del Toro, Timothy Chalamet, Frances McDormand, Jeffrey Wright, and tons more. Up next on my list is Nia DaCosta's Candyman, which is also co-written and produced by Jordan Peele. And I know, crazy, right? I'm not only looking forward to a remake, but a remake remake of a good movie. And although that is true, I also think it's worth noting that Candyman, out of pretty much any horror franchise, is probably the most prime for a reboot or a remake in today's society. The story is filled to the brim with cultural and racial themes that I think are perfect to examine in 2021. I also love the cast for this movie, and I can't wait to see what Nia DaCosta has in store for us. Up next, we have The Green Knight, directed by David Lowery from A24. This film is a fantasy horror reimagining of the medieval tale of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I don't really know shit about the story that this movie's based off of, and I don't really think that I need to, because this movie looks awesome. And although I am definitely in the minority on my opinion of David Lowery's prior movie, A Ghost Story, I can admit that David Lowery is a director with vision, and that paired with the cast of this movie, I mean, what's not to like? Up next on our list is the newest film from writer-director Edgar Wright, who is actually making his very first straight-up horror movie with Last Night in Soho. Not only is the cast for this movie excellent, but Edgar Wright is a huge cinephile and a really big horror nut, so I can't wait to see what he has cooked up for us. And if we're talking about great cast, that seems to be a perfect segue to my next most anticipated film of the year with Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I'm sure I've mentioned it on this channel before, but Denis Villeneuve is just one of those filmmakers that whatever they announce they're working on, I'm just like immediately excited to see what it is. That paired with the insane source material for this movie and the, as I mentioned, crazy cast for this film, yeah, count me in. Denis Villeneuve is honestly my favorite working director in Hollywood at the moment, and I have absolutely loved what he has given to sci-fi alone in recent years with Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. My biggest hope for this movie is that people actually go to see it, because as I said, I love this filmmaker, and I would love for studios to just keep throwing insane amounts of money at him. Up next, we have Saint Maud from writer-director Rose Glass, as well as A24. This film follows a deeply religious nurse who becomes obsessed with saving the soul of her dying patient, and since its premiere all the way back in 2019 at the Toronto International Film Festival, I've been hearing rave things about this movie. And if the trailer for this film wasn't enough to get me excited, the fact that A24 is producing this film certainly is, because A24 has kind of been on the cutting edge of delivering really excellent indie horror in the past several years. And with Saint Maud, I can't wait to see if they're able to keep that momentum going. Next on our list is Those Who Wish Me Dead, which comes to us from writer-director Taylor Sheridan, who, just like Denis Villeneuve, one of those filmmakers that whatever they decide they're making next, I'm probably going to be there opening night. For those of you who don't know, Taylor Sheridan is the filmmaker behind Sicario, Hell or High Water, and Wind River, which he actually directed as well. This film follows a murder witness who is being pursued by two assassins who goes into the Montana woods with a survival expert in order to survive. Not only that, but they are surrounded by a forest fire. So yeah, there's that. Taylor Sheridan is such a talented writer, and like all of his movies across the board are like Suspense City, so I'll probably need a Xanax just to get through this one. And speaking of suspense, in 2021 we are going to be getting a new original movie from writer-director James Wan, who is inarguably like one of the biggest names in horror. This is the first film that he's made since 2013 with The Conjuring that isn't attached to any IP. I'm so excited to see what he has in store for us. I'm such a huge James Wan fan, and I can't wait to see what he is making next. So as I said previously, all of these movies I'm pretty much unanimously equally excited for, but this next one has just a little special place in my heart. I can't wait to see this one specifically, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it's my most anticipated movie of 2021. From writer-director Janixa Bravo, and actually the third A24 movie on this list, comes her newest film, Zola. This film seemingly tells the true story of the 48-hour-long adventure between Zola and her new friend Stefani. What intrigues me about this movie specifically is the fact that this film is actually based off of a 2015 Twitter thread from Zola, where she kind of tells what happens in these 48 hours. Now, I haven't read the Twitter thread, and frankly, I don't really want to, because in just reading the plot synopsis for this film, I'm already intrigued and kind of just want to go in and just experience this wild roller coaster of a movie. And despite your feelings on Bravo's 2017 debut, Lemon, I think everyone can pretty unanimously agree that this is a director with a style and vision, and I sincerely hope she's able to deliver with this film. I cannot wait to see it. All right, guys, that does it for me and what I'm looking forward to in 2021, but I want to know what you are excited to see, so leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.